On the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz comes an unprecedented exhibition about one of history's darkest moments. Auschwitz, not long ago, not far away, features more than 500 original objects, first-hand accounts, and survivor testimonies that tell the powerful story of the Auschwitz concentration camp, its history and legacy, and the underlying conditions that allowed the Holocaust to happen. On now exclusively at ROM. Tickets at rom.ca.
We're here in Kiryat Shmona. The residents are returning to the north, and we're thrilled to be here at the public library, where we're all helping out to build new furniture.
That's a snippet from a very recent visit to northern Israel by some Canadian Jewish leaders to see for themselves how damaged the area is after a year-long war between Israel and Hezbollah. The war displaced over 60,000 Israelis due to the constant barrage of rockets launched on dozens of communities from across the border in Lebanon. The rocket attacks killed 45 Israeli civilians, including those 12 Druze youngsters playing soccer. 78 IDF soldiers died in combat there. It took exploding pagers, targeted assassinations, including of Hezbollah's leader Hassan Nasrallah, and a limited ground invasion last fall to decimate Hezbollah's fighting capabilities. In November, Hezbollah agreed to a ceasefire. 2 weeks ago, on March 1st, the Israeli government told the displaced Israelis it was time for them to move back home, leave the government-funded hotels or apartments where they've been staying in other parts of Israel, and repopulate the north. And the IDF will keep troops in 5 locations inside southern Lebanon as a buffer zone to make sure things remain quiet. Meanwhile, direct diplomatic talks between Israel and Lebanon towards normalization are on the horizon, which explains why some residents whose homes miraculously were not touched have returned to sleep in their own beds, even though the mayor of Metula warned his community not to return yet, because he says 60% of the buildings were damaged. That's about 450 in total. And there's no schools, medical clinics, not even a department store. But other residents aren't so convinced this ceasefire will hold.
Who promised those guys that they will come home, fix their homes, bring their children to sleep in the house, and in 6 months, it won't happen again? That's the most frightening fear that we have to deal with that from now to the future.
I'm Ellen Besner, and this is what Jewish Canada sounds like for Monday, March 17th, 2025. Welcome to the CJN Daily, a podcast of the Canadian Jewish News, and made possible in part thanks to the generous support of the Ira Gluskin and Maxine Granovsky-Gluskin Charitable Foundation. We've reported before about the forest fires from rockets destroying agriculture around Kiryat Shmona and the damage to Metula, and about entire communities in the Upper Galilee and the Galilee Panhandle effectively turned into ghost towns. Now we want to know who's going back, who isn't, and we also checked in with people with deep ties to Canada who never left. Later, we'll chat with Dr. Esther Silver, formerly of Toronto. She wasn't ordered to leave her home 9 kilometers from the Lebanese border. But first, meet Michal Zamir and her husband, Nir. They spend Jewish holidays in Edmonton, where 2 of their children live. But the couples lived and worked in Metula, where they raised their family for nearly 40 years. She still works for the local water utility. He's retired from making handcrafted furniture. After October 7th, they had to evacuate to a hotel in Tiberias, but recently Michal decided she needed to go back to Metula because she missed her couch, which miraculously, including her house, wasn't hit. Her husband, Nir, decided he's staying in Canada for now. They both join me to explain why they disagree on whether it's safe to go back. Michal is in Metula and Nir is in Edmonton.
Hi, everybody.
It's really great to talk to you, and I'm so honored that we both, first of all, so many different time zones. I'll start with anybody can tell us just the background of how you ended up staying in Edmonton, how long you stayed in Israel. Tell us sort of the timeline, first of all.
When the war started, we just stayed in Metula for at least, I think, 2 weeks, because I joined the reserve unit in Metula to protect the town. And we didn't know that it will take so much time. After 2 weeks, I was thrown out from this unit because I was told that my wife has to leave, and she refused to leave without me. So they told me, okay, you're too old for us. You have to leave. They didn't want any citizens to live in the town during the war when nobody knew what's really going to happen. So we stayed together almost 18 months, 17 months in a hotel in Tiberia. And the house was empty, but we came from time to time when we were allowed, we came to see that everything is okay.
And was it? Has it been damaged or any neighbors or anything around you?
Our house is in the middle of town, and luckily, some houses not far from us got shot or burned, and our house is okay.
But what does the town look like now? I was listening to the mayor saying that he doesn't want people to come back. It's not ready.
It looks like a war zone, but I think that he's involving too much politics in his decisions.
It's not nice to be back here because the roads are awful and there's nothing here. There's no municipality, there's no supermarket, there's no health services. The last few days, there much more people come back because the government said you have to come back. And so people come back, but you find Metula very different, very destroyed. It's like you live in a building area all the time.
Construction
Construction, yeah, that's right. Every car that move on the way should do a lot of dust, so you can't keep your house clean.
Why did you go back, my wife?
Because it's my house and I like to sit in my couch and see the TV and do whatever I want.
You have a better couch in Canada.
Okay.
No, but you should tell, you went back because you have work. No, they made you come back, or no, it was your choice?
No, I work from the hotel also. I can work from any place, even when I go to Canada. So I work with the computer any place around. But I come back because I have enough from the hotel. I couldn't stay any longer in the, a little room, and I want to come back home. I feel very good when I go inside home. I feel great. I don't feel the war. I don't fear, and I'm okay. But when you go out and you see what going outside, so it's not nice.
Are the schools open at all?
No school, no kindergarten, nothing. To buy something, you go to Kiryat Shmona. It's the next near city. It's about 10 minutes driving. Here in Metula, we have nothing.
How many families came back with kids to Metula?
Now, for the last week, I guess there's few families that come back, maybe 10.
Okay, that's nothing.
Right. Well, because I want to know, like, school is open. So are the parents, no, in Israel, it's still the school year. So are they going to take them out of school and bring them to Metula where there's no school and they have to do it on Zoom? I don't know how
that's absurd.
There's the
high school.
The high school is open in Arvagai, and now because a few families are come back, so the mayor made a transit to take them to the school in the morning.
School buses, yeah.
Yeah, school buses.
Are there teachers though for the elementary? No.
Not in Metula, nearby.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a school where the other one, I don't know.
Do you know friends and relatives have made the decision to not come back? And because it's enough with upheaval, they've already made businesses there, they've already bought a house. What's your experience?
Yes, there's few families that said that they won't come back again.
You mentioned earlier that you felt that you should go back because you were fed up with living in a hotel. Do you feel safe now that they have the truce with Hezbollah?
It's funny. I feel safe because we have the army here. I said what's going to be in the future when the army lose a little bit. Now I feel very safe and okay. I go to sleep quietly and I feel okay. I don't know what's going to be in a few months ahead or a year ahead. I don't know.
We came to Metula 37 years ago with two babies. It wasn't even safe there, but we didn't understand that. We were Zionists. We wanted to come to live in the north border of Israel. Michal's grandparents were some of the pioneers that built this place, and we just made a decision to move to the north. Now we understand that the danger we took was very big. But for 36 years, we lived very comfortably and very happily in Metula.
It's because we didn't know what's going on behind the border. That's the reason. We live here quiet, and we got 4 children, and we raised them very good, and everything was okay. But now, after October 7, all change.
We know your son is in Canada, in Edmonton. Where are the other ones?
My other daughter is also in Edmonton. And here in Israel, I got 2 daughters, one with 4 children, and the other one used to live with us. She's the little one. And when the war started, she moved to Binyamina. So now she's living in Binyamina, and she said it's like Metula, but without the border.
Is she going to come back?
Not for now. She said maybe in a few years, maybe. When she said when she feel safe and she see there's no Hezbollah behind the border, so then she might come back.
The absurd is so big that even I told my daughter with the kids, don't come to sleep in Sapta's house for now. We will tell you when to come, and it will be when we feel safer. Because this agreement between Israel to the Hezbollah is so breakable, and we came to the same situation that we were stuck before the war. So nothing is progress. When Michal says she feels safe, it's only kind of feeling because she sees soldiers around her, and it gives her a good feeling. But on the long term, the Hezbollah can do anything he wants in 2 minutes, and we will be almost in the same situation that we were stuck in the south, and then the army would be have to react again and do something. So it's very, very breakable. And I know about many families that used to live in Metula, rental houses or boat houses with kids that said that they will not go back to Metula. So for the future, I think that Metula will become a very old city or very old town with all the old people that are not so much afraid of staying in the north next to the border.
You said that the mayor, when I asked, the mayor is telling everyone don't come back. There's nothing here yet. It's not ready. You said it was political. Do you want to explain what that means?
It means that he wants more money from the government to fix and to correct Old Town. And he definitely would love to have all citizens back when everything will be 100% perfect.
I don't agree with you. He said that because he doesn't have school for children, no kindergarten for the children, so they can't be here. What can they do?
People that their houses were not hurt, why won't they go back?
They come back. There are few families that come back. But it's not nice to live in a construction area.
It's all over Israel. It's not only Metula. There are many, many villages along the border that hurt not less than Metula. So I think that when he refuses to get his people back, he wants the government to think that Metula is very special, very different, and the damage is much bigger than any other places.
You said Kiryat Shmona is the big city, and you go there, but what did you see for damage for there? Is it also a construction zone, and the fields are still burnt, or what?
No. Kiryat Shmona, not all the stores are open yet because they said there's not enough people. But people come back. In Kiryat Shmona, you see much more cars going on the road. You see there a lot of cars.
Shopping center, you mean?
Shopping center, yeah.
What about the fact that the government supported families like, I guess, yourselves that were displaced economically, financially? They gave you, I don't know how many shekels for rent and whatever. Is that finished now? Are you still getting some money from the government?
We still don't know. For the last month, we got the amount that they promised.
I want to correct something. If you decided to stay in a hotel during this period of time, The government paid for your hotel. They didn't give you a rent or something else. Like it was your decision to decide if you want to get some money from the government to do your own rental and things like this, or you decide just to stay in one of the hotels that had agreement with the government, and then you don't get any money from them.
But it was free. Yeah, they either paid for the rent, like in my Esther Silver's case, or they paid the hotel directly and you got free accommodation. Same thing.
The hotel cost them more, the government.
Well, I heard prices went up in the rent like crazy also everywhere.
Yeah.
That's right.
So you're there, and Nir, you stayed in Edmonton. Why do you feel it's not safe to go back, or are you going to go back soon?
Because first of all, every day I'm watching the Israeli news for 3, 4, 5 hours from here. And I know almost even better than Michal because she's working and I know every small move, every bomb that is bombing. I'm aware of anything that happens in Metula. It's not healthy. And it's not healthy. Like when I thought I'm coming here to be with the grandkids and I will forget everything and feel free. No, it doesn't work this way. You're so much tense and you are listening all the time to all the knowledge that they say on the media about the border, about any attack, about the bombing here, bombing there. I'm waiting for Michal. Definitely, the two of us will go back to Metula. That's a final answer. There is no way we will stay here in Canada. But because we have 5 grandchildren here, we decided to split some time and to enjoy the two worlds.
Now, 88, we moved to Metula, yeah.
So when do you think you're going to have your reunion in Israel? Or are you going to come back to Canada first, Michal? What's the plan?
No, I'm coming first to Canada. We're going to spend the holiday, Pesach holiday in Canada.
My wonder is different than Michal, and I'm asking myself and the citizens themselves, what promises us that in the next few months, like 3, 4, 5, 6, even more, the Hezbollah won't do the same as it did before. And there is one big, huge neighborhood in Metula that got hurt very much because they are in direct view to Lebanon. There is nobody cannot even promise you 100% that this will be from now to the future, it will be safe. If we are Jewish people, we know that we'll have to fight all our lives on our safety and religion and whatever. We know that our grandchildren will have to serve the army and protect the country forever.
Time change, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, they promised me.
I spoke to the Lebanese and they said now the Lebanese are against the Hezbollah also. So maybe there's a little light in the end.
I love it. Thank you so much for being on the CJN Daily.
Thank you.
On the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz comes an unprecedented exhibition about one of history's darkest moments. Auschwitz, not long ago, not far away, features more than 500 original objects, first-hand accounts, and survivor testimonies that tell the powerful story of the Auschwitz concentration camp, its history and legacy, and the underlying conditions that allowed the Holocaust to happen. On now exclusively at ROM. Tickets at rom.ca.
As we mentioned earlier, Dr. Esther Silver is a psychotherapist. She treats people with trauma and ADHD. She lives in Kfar Vradim, about an hour southwest of the Zamirs. She wasn't ordered to evacuate the village. It's famous for 2 reasons. Kfar Vradim has an Iron Dome battery in it, and the war is literally down the street from her. Plus, Kfar Vradim is home to Romi Gonen, one of the hostages taken captive by Hamas from the Nova Music Festival, released just in January, and her Canadian cousin Maureen Lesham in Toronto has worked tirelessly for her freedom. Esther Silver is also the manager of Israel's national women's hockey team. They can't practice anymore at the damaged Canada Arena in Metula. Silver joins me now for an update on how she's survived life in Israel's north. You never left.
The government decided that only up to 4 kilometers away from the actual border were people to be evacuated because they had no possibility to react in time. But that's a fallacy because people 5, 6 kilometers from the border also had no time to react to missiles. And it gave us no special protection from being shot at regarding missiles from the get-go. So we were all pretty exposed all the time. It's been a difficult year.
How much damage was done in your community, if any, by either the Israeli army base, the Iron Dome that's there, and the heavy equipment, and the rockets from Hezbollah?
Well, whenever they shot down rockets, one episode that scared the shit out of me, excuse me for my French, but as a Canadian, I'm not really used to full-out war. And one morning I was driving on the street just below me, and the siren sounded. I got out of the car, lay down on the ground, and I looked up. Tons of explosions, rockets, the Iron Dome going up, and it was like, oh my God, I feared for my life. That day, a rocket hit an apartment half a kilometer from me and destroyed it completely. Family was inside their shelter, so they were safe. And they themselves were evacuated from the border, so it was kind of a double whammy for them.
And they moved to Kfar Vradim.
Yes, we have many families here. My renters, for example, are evacuated from the border, and in a minute I'll talk about their experience. The same day that we had this massive, I think it was over 50 missiles, a young Arab Muslim man was helping his brothers and sisters get into the bomb shelter, and he was struck directly by a rocket, and they couldn't find any parts to bury. It was that bad. It got close to home and very scary.
Your community is still functioning. There's schools, there's the hospital, everything, the clinics. What's happening there? Describe.
Yeah. Well, we shut down for a while. At the beginning of the war, we had to shut down, and schools are only open alternate days and only in the bomb shelters. But because there was a high risk of getting hurt going to school and coming back, we went to a Zoom system, which was really difficult for the kids. Also, a lot of the kids developed severe anxiety, so they had to sleep in the bomb shelter. Parents couldn't go to work. I was terrified of driving on the roads. I worked also in Carmiel, which is just south of us. And because of all the shooting and shelling, it's hard. I'm 72 years old. Getting out of my car during a missile attack and lying on the ground is scary and not comfortable. So I stopped working in Carmiel. So it profoundly affected our work, the kids' schooling. I'd say most kids are at least behind by half a year, if not more.
You said people moved in, but did any of your people that you know actually leave?
People were frightened, and people from Ma'alot, which is just north of us, and that was the subject of a massive terrorist attack in 1974, killing several children. So they have already in their genetics a fear of infiltration. And I just want to add, the first week after October 7th, everyone was terrified that we'd be infiltrated and attacked by Hezbollah. And all of us bought it's a piece of wood with a hole in it that prevents the door from being opened. We all went out and got it, and we were all in our bomb shelters the whole time. People had their guns on them. We were terrified that first week or two, but thank God they never attacked. So yeah, people have left the village. I have spoken to people, and they went to Jerusalem. They went to other places. They were supported by the government, funded by the government, because they suffered from anxiety and they couldn't function here.
You said you had to stop working in Carmiel. Were you able to continue your profession as best you could, and still working now as a doctor?
Yeah, I work 30 hours a week. I work in Nahariya. Nahariya had typically at least 5 missile attacks a day, but thank God I was right next door to the bomb shelter, so it was just a matter of getting up and going with the patients and the whole staff to the bomb shelter and keeping the kids calm, which was a problem because you could still hear everything outside. Also here, we had attacks night and day, and it was running down the stairs because my bomb shelter's in the basement. My dog, she knew on her own to go downstairs when I wasn't home. She knew how to open the door, and she'd go into the bomb shelter. The dogs are affected. This week we had, I think you know that Israel attacked Syria last week. So we had a full day of huge fighter planes in the sky over us. And I couldn't understand why my dog was crying all the time. And then I realized that during the war, when we had Iron Dome and we had the missiles, she would get very upset and scared. So there's a kind of a collective trauma that all of us have gone through and we're still carrying.
When the ceasefire and the truce happened with Hezbollah, and it's now been November, December, January, February, March, 4 months. And March the 2nd, the government said, it's safe, go back, move back to the north. That's our priority, revitalize the north. How do you feel about this? Do you think that it is safe now? Are you thinking people should come back?
I don't think they have a choice. And I have many patients who have been evacuated, many patients who have been evacuated. And what they tell me is they can't afford to live anywhere else. So they have to go back. They are nervous. Initial reaction was, no way, we're not going back. And then they started going back to their homes. Like my renters are from a village just right on the border, just north of me, called Even Menachem. And they're going back. She has reservations, the mother, but the dad's like, no, that's where we live. So they're going back.
And their house is okay?
Their house is okay. Thank God. School's already started. The bus service has already started. And the kids, I ate dinner with them last night. We're very close. The kids are looking forward to going back. You know, they have friends. They have friends now from the village, but they've been in that settlement for many, many years, and they want to go back. So I would say the vast majority of people along the border, I'm not talking Kiryat Shmona, but along the border, I think that most of the people are going to return. They've already returned to their homes. Most of my patients have returned because they're fed up with living in a hotel in Jerusalem or with mom in Nahariya or whatever arrangement they made. They want to be home. But I think Kiryat Shmona is going to take a long time. My renters were telling me that a lot of people in Kiryat Shmona have bought apartments in Nahariya and have no plans on going back to Kiryat Shmona. There's a lot of poverty in Kiryat Shmona already from the get-go. And a lot of people, they tasted a better life outside Kiryat Shmona, and they want that better life.
Yeah. But do you feel personally safe now?
Yes, I believe in our army. Our kids are amazing. Our soldiers are amazing. I won't talk about the government. You know, we all felt such a huge sigh of release when the truce came into effect. We hope that the army will keep up what it's mandated to do, which is to keep Hezbollah out. So my village itself is pretty safe, so I don't see myself going anywhere soon.
I want to speak to you specifically about the hockey situation. In Metula, where you and your girls from your hockey team have grown up, can you update us on what's the situation with that?
Well, it was damaged secondarily to a missile hitting the swimming pool area, but it caused damage to the whole site. So basically, the arena is shut down. It will depend on funding from the government. And we hope and pray that we'll come back because we have a lot of players from Metula and from Kiryat Shmona and Kfar Giladi, Agoshurim. We had at least 5 players who were evacuated, and some of them have not yet returned to their homes. One of the girls, our goalie, her brother was badly wounded in the war at the beginning. So everyone has paid a price emotionally and physically in this war. In spite of which, even though we couldn't have practices because we couldn't get together, we have 5 girls in the army. They weren't even allowed to come to practice, and 2 of them couldn't go to the tournament last month because of security risks in Bosnia, where we were playing. It was pretty difficult getting our team together and getting to the tournament, but our girls are amazing. They're so brave.
You won a silver medal. Congratulations.
Yes. And, you know, even though they booed us throughout the games and refused to... they transmitted the game on YouTube, but they always omitted Hatikva when we won. I mean, dirty, but it is what it is.
I know the Kfar Vradim, our listeners might not know, it's the Kfar of Roses, right?
Yes.
Tell me about the fields, sort of the agriculture area has been impacted by the war.
For the most part, people in and around my village and north of my village, and even I'd say most of the north, are being able to work. However, during the war, the fields, especially in the Golan Heights, they couldn't work the fields, but they had fruit trees full of fruit. And under fire, they were picking the fruit. And we were the beneficiaries because they would bring truckloads of fruit to our village, to all of the villages. And they were amazing. Oh my God, I bought 10 kilos of cherries, and they were perfect cherries, you know, and mangoes, unbelievable produce because they couldn't sell them anywhere. And all of us were volunteering and going to the different kibbutzim to pick the fruit and vegetable because you have to. You can't just leave it. It wasn't just in the south, up here in the north as well. And people were pretty... In Metula, there was a man and his son and Thai workers, and he was killed by a mishap because he kept on going out to his fields to pick the fruit. It was very sad. Everything's getting back to where it was before and functioning. Our theater, which never closed down, but when you went to a performance, there was an announcement at the beginning. In the case of a missile attack, crouch forward and put your head between your knees, as if that's going to save you.
Sounds like a 1950s education film about the bomb.
Absolutely. But the people are resilient here. And in our village, one of the girls who was taken hostage, her name was Romy
Gonen, because there's a big Canadian connection to her family, Maureen Lesham in Toronto. Yeah. And so Yarden Gonen is quoted as saying she's never bringing her sister to Kfar Vradim because the community is, quote, crushed by the artillery batteries. I wonder if that resonates with you or not.
We were crushed, but I think we're okay. As I said, we're resilient. Life goes on. We're living with it. And most of us probably have a degree of post-traumatic stress disorder. I have a lot of patients who are presenting with that. But we're here and we want to be here. We're happy to be here. There's a verb in Hebrew, lenarmel, which means to normalize. And we're trying to normalize our lives. I think Romy will come back, but more for a visit than to live here.
Is there one last thing that you want our Canadian listeners and readers to understand now that the government is encouraging people to come back to the north?
We need people to live here. And of course, any Canadians who are thinking of escaping Canada to a safer place, as ironic as it sounds, our village is building new houses and they have a high quality of life. And I totally recommend it.
Yeah, that's ironic that we all worry about you and you all worry about what's happening in Canadian streets.
That's right.
Esther, it's been really great to catch up with you. I'm glad that you came through this.
It's a pleasure, and you take care.
And that's what Jewish Canada sounds like for this episode of the CJN Daily, made possible thanks to the generous support of the Ira Gluskin and Maxine Granovsky-Gluskin Charitable Foundation. The Jewish Federations of Canada United Israel Appeal raised over $100 million to help Israel after October 7th. A lot of that money went to evacuees in the south, but a good chunk went to help northern Israel as well. And they announced a further $20 million donation will go to expand a college in the community of Tel Chai to boost education in the area. Our show is produced by Zachary Judah Kaufman. The executive producer is Michael Freeman. The editorial director is Mark Weisblot, and music is by Dov Beck-Levine. Thanks for listening.
On the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz comes an unprecedented exhibition about one of history's darkest moments. Auschwitz, not long ago, not far away, features more than 500 original objects, first-hand accounts, and survivor testimonies that tell the powerful story of the Auschwitz concentration camp, its history and legacy, and the underlying conditions that allowed the Holocaust to happen. On now exclusively at ROM. Tickets at rom.ca.